Irish. Marley Irish is internationally, nationally and locally renowned artist, and is a Kilkenny-based artist. And Marley Irish, you have donated several paintings to the Good Shepherd, some which were donated and were used for the fundraising efforts in their raffles throughout the year. Then you painted two paintings of Beyond, the Army, the Defence Force mascot, which you have a painting portrait, and the calendars here. And you also, one of the paintings was given over to the 3rd Battalion from the Good Shepherd, and which will hang in the 3rd Battalion, I think the officers' mess. And you also have donated a painting for the Good Shepherd's fundraising event, which is taking place on the 21st of June, which is an auction. And you're very generous with your art, especially with the Good Shepherd Centre here in Kilkenny.
Well, thank you very much for that, Roisin. I'm glad you did all the chat. That sounds very busy, which it has been very busy. But as an artist, I'm privileged to donate what I've donated, and hopefully this will go on with a lot of other artists going forward as well. And besides me, there are a lot of artists in for this fabulous auction, and there's some fabulous work and there's some great bargains. So we would be saying this is for a great cause, like for the Good Shepherd, for homeless, for people. This is about us as people. We're generous enough to paint and love doing it, but we also love the generosity giving it, because this is going to a huge impact for the homeless, and the Good Shepherd have done so much work, and we're privileged to be part of that as well. And hopefully this will continue, and the generosity, and I think it will continue, the generosity of the artists and anybody else that's out there that can give in other ways. You don't have to be an artist to give your generosity to the Good Shepherd. Everybody has their own little impact, and I'd say to everybody, come along, support all the events. This auction is huge, and there are other events coming along, so keep it in mind. I don't think the Good Shepherd are going away about all their fundraising, because homelessness is not going to go away, as Noel reminds us so often, so elegant in his speeches, and Roisin to be behind so much of a project as well. And without great people like you in the running, we wouldn't be as prolific in giving, because we wouldn't have known what's going on in the background. So part of this is we're delighted that you're moving quite strongly with this, and we're part of it.
Well, Marley, the auction in itself and the event which is taking place on June 21st, it really came out of meeting you with Lieutenant Colonel Mert Larkin. Could not come up in person and open the Ormond College Arts Festival. However, he did send Commandant Eamon Cahill on his behalf, and there's lots of photographs of Eamon Cahill opening
Yes.
with the red ribbon. And that's where you met Noel Sherry, Liam Keane and the Defence Forces. And through the conversation there, it was sort of planned there and then that the Defence Forces and the 3rd Battalion would get involved. So it came out of meeting you.
Yeah, but it's funny, it came about because of a nice battalion, if you put the pun word on it, came together that day, and Eamon was so good to walk in the captain's shoes that day. But what struck me about it was how enthusiastic he was when it was all over. He did his job, but there was a bigger job to be done besides being on that day, and Liam was there, and Noel. There was a lot of significant people, but the job was just starting. So really it was the energy that came back, was fed back to the army that day, which has brought this forward. So like, it's stepping into somebody else's shoes, maybe that couldn't make it on the day, but those shoes are moving along with what has happened in the year, and that's for us all mucking in and doing our little bit. And it's great, and such an enthusiastic barbecue and auction that's there now, and I'm looking forward to seeing the outcome of this, because there has a lot of work gone in behind the scenes with a lot of people.
Well, it certainly is. When you think what can happen out of opening up of the Ormond College Festival, what can happen?
Exactly, the energy from that, like, because Arts Week has been going for a long time, but it was new to get the army involved this year, and it's so close to moving out what art is about. And you know, it's about people and it's about talents, but there's a lot of ways people can give their talent, and sometimes that might put your hand in your pocket and donate and give what you can, and respect the work that people are doing along the way, and don't just sit back and say, well, you know, I can, you know, am I going to be part of this? You are a part of it because you're helping people. And that's what we're all at, people at the end of the day. So just give your support, come out and keep going with it. It's not going to finish at the auction this evening and the barbecue. This is rolling on, it's going to be here for a long time. I don't think Noel Cherry's going away anyway. He's not letting anybody off the hook, or Roisin for that, or Liam. And I think Eamon really put the army on the marks that day as a young guy, and it was a great day. I think put the good foot forward on that day.
So Marley, tell us about your work. How long have you been an artist?
I'd say I'm painting for the last 45 years. I've painted as a kid. I had a lovely aunt who worked in Windsor and Newton in England, and she used to work on the assembly line initially, and she'd bring back the rejects of the paintings, the Windsor and Newton. And I, as a small child, before I was even 10, had all the best oils and acrylics and pastels and palette knives and etchings and charcoal. I didn't know what they were, only I was using them. So I've been painting a long time. And the first painting that I would have done was the Sacred Heart pictures, and Our Lady. They were the only two pictures that were in our house. And we used to say the rosary at that time because my grandparents lived with us. And that was the only thing when you were kneeling down. I hate to say it, you were so bored or disinterested, maybe would be the best word, or was getting the news was, you know, things you were missing out on things. And you just start sketching, and it was Our Lady I sketched first, and the Sacred Heart. But that was all that was there. There was nothing big, it was simple. So that's how it all started. And I still have those today, of those etchings I painted before I was 10 years old. And literally I've been painting all my life, but I bring it in with my nursing career as well. And like, it's great at this stage, after all those years, and I love helping other artists as well. Because when I started, I had no career, I had no qualifications in art. You know, was I good enough? When are you good enough to exhibit? You're good enough if you have the courage to put your painting out or something to critique it. But along that way, people have helped me, but there's a lot of people who won't help you, and you don't forget those people. So now I'm at a stage all my time where you look out and you have people coming along, and they're not the competition, they're the people that are prolific and they are coming. But those footsteps in the beginning, and I know from setting up Ormond College exhibition 25 years ago and running it for all that length time for artists emerging, which I was emerging all those years ago, you need good people to teach you, and nice people that will tell you the cracks along the way that might take you 10 years to learn them. But if you hear them, you're more aware of the path that you've taken. It's not an easy path, that of an artist. You know, so like any little help, and people will always remember that, even as they're starting to go to college, or you know, a kind, nice, little generous word doesn't go really astray, and that makes all this more interesting, because that's just what I've makes it. You meet crazy nice people, and you meet quite critical people, and those people are probably people who have not given their talents, you know, so you know how to maneuver around them and engage them in your life, so you're learning all along.
So Marley, you're very famous for your ballerinas.
I love my ballerinas. I've always painted ballerinas, and funny, when I had them out showing first and people were saying, you paint like Degas, Edgar Degas, and I said, I think I do. But I didn't know who Edgar Degas was, because I never studied art, but I couldn't show them I was that unintelligent about it. But when I googled and looked them up, my ballerinas, he painted horse racing as well, and that's what I painted when I started. So it's just, he would be the artist of choice that in the archives I would follow. But ballerinas are just beautiful structure of talent, of limbs, of life, and you can put different coloured tutus on, and you can do different skin tones and whatever, with just simplicity, you know, the form and energy. And I suppose that I've painted ballerinas all my time, and at this stage I'd be ballroom dancing again. It has emerged. We put another figure, the guy in, but at this stage I'm painting without looking at photographs, or it's all in my mind.
and you said to me many times before, you never paint the same painting twice.
Yeah, funny, about 6 years ago, I remember being at a show and I went in and the artist was there, but this woman was complaining. She bought a painting and there was another painting like it, quite similar, and he was showing his photographs. And from that day, I realised I'm not photographing my work, you know, in that A4 collection, because how can you paint the same picture twice if you don't archive it, you know, with a photograph? So there is nothing of mine the same.
And you paint animals. As we're talking, I see the cows coming
Yes.
up the field. You paint cows, you paint dogs and horses. You love horses.
Animals, it's like the ballerinas and the movement. With the horse racing, and people would say you must study the horse form to know. You don't need to study the horse form, only just they're majestic and their limbs, and you know. But I do so much things in motion that, like, you know, when you're painting a racehorse, you can't have four limbs, you know, quite steady. They are flying along, so you have to really paint them quickly, and you know, the motion of that. If you don't get the motion of it, you have dead horses running, and you're not achieving anything. So, you know, animal in motion is different than animal portrait. And this, I love this little collie dog, and this is what you call a portrait of the collie, but his energy is in the light that's dancing on his eyes. So that's his movement, like his legs are not moving, and the dance of his eyes is what captures him. And you have to bring a bit of life to your work, and that's what I like, the energy. Hence I don't really do still life like the oranges and the apples in the little jar, but I love artists that do that because they do it so well. That's their acumen. Mine is motion and movement and life, you know. So
Marley, what materials do you use when you're painting?
I would start with my palette and I would put on all the colours. I would look at the subject that I would need. I need a lot of black, I need a lot of red. So I everything on my palette, and I use my palette knife and I have my brush, and off I go. And I just start. I just have an image in my mind that I want, but I could not tell you when I start what the painting will look like until it's finished. But the loveliest thing about doing a painting is the next day you can back up to the easel and say, God, what did I paint? And you know, you look through, but they all have come in, all those things have come in because of your mind bringing them in. And even when you go to exhibition, you still see something different, like, you know, in the background. You know, there's loads of things happening that you've forgotten about, but you didn't intend them there, but you threw them in anyway. So they work fine. But that's, you know, it's only at exhibition that you really enjoy your work, because the hard work is done. The easy work is painting. It's lovely. But showing is so hard, you know. A lot of work getting nurtured, getting them framed, getting them out of the back of the car, in, hanging them, lighting, and showing them, but painting them is the easiest. That's why even with our gallery and painting at home, like to get them out, to get them to the Good Shepherd, you know, it's easy. You're giving them, they're straight in, they're straight out there, they're going for the good cause. So.
Well, Marley, you know, especially with the paintings of with Fiona and what you have through your opening of the Arts Week in Marley, to opening up the Ormond College in Arts Week.
Yes.
You have really, through you've actually really created a great relationship between yourself, the Good Shepherd, and the 3rd Battalion of our wonderful Defence Forces, who so graciously and wonderfully strengthen our nation, and really, you know, thank them for service.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much indeed for what you have done for the Good Shepherd and for the homeless in Kilkenny.
Yeah, long may it last, long may it and continue. Lovely, thank you, Roisin.
Marley Irish, thank you so much indeed.
Thank you.